Alright guys, an entirely new faction, the Shadowkin Jintoro, looking absolutely amazing. Yoshi The Drunkard, our fusion champion, looks much taller than I thought he would be. Ginjin here looks absolutely amazing as well. We've got Toragi the Frog, pretty ugly, lots of extra pair of balls just in case, you never know. We've got Sachi, perhaps wearing a little bit more clothes than I thought she would be. We've got Chinoru looking great as well. This one is Oboro, looks very mysterious, I like it. We've got Life Taker, okay, kind of like the other one there, a little bit recycled in terms of models. Blood Mask, same thing here, looks a little bit like Ginjin. Then we've got Fanatic, which looks pretty cool, I like it. Then we've got Infiltrator, the first uncommon, and then the second one. But today we're going to take a deeper look at Yoshi the Drunkard. Let's jump right in. Alright guys, so I've got a maxed out Yoshi the Drunkard here, and we're going to take him for a spin. But first, let's quickly go over his kit yet again. Stun on the A1, 40% chance. A2, decrease accuracy, HP burn. You can book this to a 100% chance on a 2-turn cooldown, but it takes a lot of books. For the A3, increase attack, increase accuracy. I love that. 2 buffs, great for a seer. But we also place the True Fear, and depending on if the enemy has increased attack or not, it is going to be a higher percentage chance of landing. You can book this. You can also reduce the cooldown to 3 turns. But again, a lot of books overall for this champion. Is he a game changer? It really depends on where you are at in the game. So for the artifacts, I decided to go with Relentless. We took the gear from my Sile the Drakes and just put it on him, for now. All right, so here are the pieces individually. Basically a whole lot of speed. I wanted this guy to be really fast, and then of course a lot of accuracy. We have a defense percent chest piece. I don't think this guy is meant to be a hard hitter at all. And then for the boots, we have speed. I was able to get a few of the accessories for the time being, but this is not optimal. Although defense on the ring, defense on the amulet is probably the way to go. And then either resistance here or obviously accuracy. But I was not able to get, unfortunately, an accuracy banner here on the test server. So I'm going to say that for the testing, or for the purpose of today, we're going to play with either this one for the extra resistance for hard Doom Tower, or this one for the extra speed for the arena. All right, so here are the masteries. Decided to go with defense and support for the time being. Probably Eagle Eye being really important here because I don't have my accuracy banner, but I might switch this up eventually. Perhaps go for Unshakable, maybe even Fearsome Presence for a higher chance of getting the True Fear. Although I don't think that's his main purpose. Not a dedicated crowd control champion. So overall, I'm going to say that for today's testing, this is good enough. Now let's go see what he can do. All right guys, for our first test, we're going to go in the Ice Golem. We have HP burn. We have a way of controlling ads, therefore it kind of made sense to try him out in that dungeon. We also brought in Toragi the Frog. I think that guy also has a fantastic kit. So we're not too far off from my usual nuke build, which is Lydia, Seer, and Arbiter. But our fusion champion here is going to give us more buffs and also hopefully more control on the ads. Right there we saw the True Fear being applied on some of the champs. I guess that's good, but again, if it's not a 100% chance of applying, so I wouldn't compare this champion to, let's say, Harvest Jack. He's not going to replace my Harvest Jack specifically for the crowd control portion of this, but the extra buffs right there, including the increased accuracy buff, is really interesting for, like I said, the Doom Tower. So for this right here, we're going to speed it up. We did see a couple of his animations there. They look pretty sweet. He's relatively fast in casting them. I think that's a good thing if you want to try and use him for some kind of speed runs, right? And Toragi the Frog, kind of the same thing there. Pretty useful champion. We have the decreased attack on the A1. We also have the ally protection, which is going to come into play here. What's dangerous about using a Seer is that you might trigger more Frigid Vengeances back to back, and that can basically wipe you. It has happened even with this team. All right, so this is not perfect, but for today's testing, I just kind of wanted to put them together to see what they can do. So right there, increased accuracy, although I don't need it right here. because I have enough accuracy on my seer, it might come in pretty handy for other applications. And so we're going to keep using this throughout today's testing. All right, so for the boss itself, pretty straightforward. Now we do have some poisons off the passive of this guy right here. We also have decreased attack, although I think it doesn't end up landing. We get some HP burns right there, and we do get control of the ants for most of the fight between Toragi, which has an AoE provoke, and this guy, which has an AoE true fear. It's pretty good. Really solid overall in terms of that, but again, a little bit risky with the team that I'm using right now. So let's just fast forward right there. We're going to take one more frigid vengeance hit, but we do end up winning with a reasonable time of about 3 minutes. For the Doom Tower, I decided to go up against Hard Sorath. Last level 120. I brought in a lot of HP burn. Also, my champions don't all have 500 accuracy here. It is really hard to reach. Therefore, Yoshi is perfect for the increased accuracy buff, but also the decreased accuracy buff on the enemy, or the Sorath herself. Hopefully prevent some of the freezes to happen on your team. So if your champions don't have a whole lot of resistance either, which is probably the case for most of us, this seemed like a viable strategy. It's a little bit longer for the waves themselves because I don't exactly have a hard nuker. Instead, this is mainly for the boss itself. So we're going to fast forward to there because we're just slowly burning these champions to death here. And finally, we get to the boss. So what I like about this overall is, again, I roughly have enough accuracy to apply the HP burn almost all the time. Drexstar is the champion with the highest amount of accuracy. We are also using his aura, but then on top of that, we have the increased accuracy buff, like I said. So this is not perfect for controlling the spiderlings because I only have a freeze and AoE provoke and AoE true fear, and I'm relying on the masteries to apply the leech debuff on the spiderlings. So every time it drops off, it sort of like cleanses the big spider. Then we sort of have to reset our combo. So perhaps this could be optimized with, let's say, removing Arbiter, bringing in Sile of the Drakes for even more AoE stuns. Maybe we would want to bring in Grush the Mangler, anything to basically add the leech debuff more consistently on the spiderlings. But overall, still ends up being relatively stable. I could even use this team myself to farm Sorath. It's a little bit slow. I did try like poisoners instead, like Xavier, to speed this up, but it was a little bit too glass cannon. I think the combo of H-Shock, Drexstar, and Yoshi here is actually pretty viable in terms of HP burn and just applying the debuffs, all right? So again, it is relying on the aura and the increased accuracy buff from Yoshi for this to work relatively well. So it ends up being about a 7-minute run, which again is reasonable. Now let's go in the arena, where I decided to bring in Yoshi for the 2 extra buffs, but at the same time, hopefully some AoE true fears, right? So for the first fight here, that's exactly what we do. We buff up with Arbiter, with Lydia, increase accuracy, and right there we nuke with Seer. All right, so in that sense, he is useful for, let's say, at least that. But then on this next fight, I switched up the speeds. I made Yoshi go before Lydia to get the increased accuracy buff to hopefully have a better chance at applying AoE decrease defense and weaken against high resistance team. So he's also pretty useful. He's always going to open up with that skill first, so you can sort of rely on that. On top of that, it is going to hopefully apply some true fears, which gives you some crowd control. So certainly pretty interesting for that aspect. And finally, against this team, I wanted to see if the fight drags on and we face a Torment and we get frozen all the time, how exactly is a Yoshi the Drunkard going to play out for us? We did get lucky. We got to our Seer. We were able to nuke. But then let's see Yoshi as we come back around here with the rest of his kit. So right there, we do get Battle Toast. You see that he always opens up with that regardless of where you are at in the fight. So in other words, he's going to prioritize that skill. We do get a hit right there. Then we go into the A2 HP burn. We got a fear, and we also have the decreased accuracy on Madame Ceres. That's actually pretty good. Decreased accuracy on a Madame Ceres that would otherwise kind of strip you. That is kind of interesting, and right there it does play out in our favor. This is not perfect, but you can kind of see that he's still useful even after the opening move. Right, guys, so there you have it, a quick first look at Yoshi the Drunkard on my account and everything I was able to do with him. I will be going for this fusion. I strongly suggest you do if you can as well. Don't forget, you will need him for the faction crypt. Here are the total stats in case you guys are wondering. And finally, here's a quick snapshot of the Great Hall. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.